Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode, If You Could Hi to Cola podcast. My name's Daniel. This is my brother Clive.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the end. We're at the very end, Daniel. Doctor, could you believe it? It really doesn't feel that long ago when we'd open in section 1 and going, all right, what are we doing?
Yeah, I have to say, I have thoroughly enjoyed doing the podcast this year. I also enjoyed last year when we did the Book of Mormon. I really love church history, and I really have loved learning more and pushing myself to learn more for our weekly episodes. I also can't believe that we've been doing this podcast for 2 years as well, Clive, by the way. We're almost at the end of this year, and we've been podcasting about church lessons, if you would, church interviews for 2 straight years now, and we've never missed a week, and I'm stoked. I'm really, really enjoying it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've learned so much this year from the church history, and I'm glad every week it's almost like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't know that. And yet, just to be able to do this, like it all started from just us having church conversations going, how can we explore this more? And yeah, 2 years later, and I'm so excited for next year. And yeah, let's just keep it going.
Clive, I've got the quote. This is from Discourses of the Prophet Joseph Smith, compiled by Alma, that's an L, Alma L. Burton. Angels and ministering spirits. We've talked about this before, where, in the Doctrine and Covenants, it tells us if you go to shake a spirit's hand, they won't or they will, depending on where they sit on the side of the fence. Anyway, Joseph explained the difference between an angel and a ministering spirit, and one a resurrected or translating body with its spirit ministering to embodied spirits, the other a disembodied spirit visiting and ministering to disembodied spirits. Jesus Christ became a ministering spirit to the spirits in prison to fulfill an important part of his mission, without which he could not have perfected his work or entered into his rest. After his resurrection, he appeared as an angel to his disciples. Clive, Christ had to do everything that we had to do when he was killed on the cross. He had to go to spirit prison. He had to teach people. This is an important fact because he went through a mortal life just like us and had to go and do everything that we're going to do. Obviously, he had a much higher and holier calling than us, but still knowing that he had to, we know he had to be baptized. We know he had to be sealed. We know he had to be, he obviously brought in the sacrament. I'm thinking and talking about the covenant path. And then after this life, he then has to go to the spirit world and continue working. So just a great truth there from Joseph.
Yeah, saying that, it makes me think of Christ, what he said. I mean, he said it perfectly when John the Baptist said, why am I baptizing you? You need to be baptized me. And he said, well, it becometh to us to fulfill all righteousness. So yes, he came here to fulfill all righteousness, not to go, I am the greatest, follow me. He's gone, this is the path. This is what we should follow.
Clive, we are looking at section 137 and 138 today. I'm assuming we're going to talk mostly about 138. 138 is a section by President Joseph F. Smith, who is the son of Hiram Smith. So there is multiple Smiths in the leadership history of our church, of course, starting with Joseph. Hiram is on the first presidency. Both are martyred. President Joseph F. Smith would take the presidency. This is recorded just before he dies. Actually, he's very sick, and he goes through this revelation that he's had, this vision that he has. His son Hiram had just recently died. Hiram was on the first presidency, and also his son Joseph Fielding Smith his son Hiram wasn't on the first presidency. He was an apostle. Joseph Fielding Smith, of course, an apostle, becomes a leader of the church. Joseph Fielding Smith, Fielding is his mother's maiden name. So Joseph has tendencies of keeping these things in the family, and has 2 sons in the apostleship as he's a leader of the church. He's distraught by the passing of his son Hiram, who I don't know a lot about from the various small things that I've listened to and a couple of bits and pieces here that I've read. Hiram, the son of Joseph F. Smith, was an absolute scholar in the gospel. So certainly a loss for the church at that time. So anyway, that's what we're talking about today. The 137 is another flashback, throwback, if you would, from January 21 in 1836. The Book of Commandments has been released by this time. That was done in 1835. And then Joseph has this revelation. So, let's get into it. What do you think? Where should we start when it comes to these scriptures?
Well, the resource book I've been using this whole year is called Doctrine and Covenants Commentary. And I opened it up to get into it because it's really fascinating. Like, it breaks down every single verse of every single section. It came out in 1978. So I opened it up, boom, these two sections aren't in here. Section 137 was part of the Pearl of Great Price in 1976 and then added to the Doctrine and Covenants in 1979, where section 138 wasn't added to Doctrine and Covenants until 1981. So my resource book is like, oh no, what do we get into? How do I start? So yeah, really interesting though that, we've talked about different parts of the Doctrine and Covenants got added at different places for it to sort of work in smoothly. And then these two have been added in at the end. Very, very important sections to help us understand the spirit world and the eternities. So yes, I was thinking, all right, well, let's study it in a different way and in a different light. And how do we get into it? And I think the obvious thing is talking about Joseph Smith seeing this vision of his children that have died and his brother.
We're now talking about Joseph Smith Jr. So 137 is Joseph Smith Jr. for people who are just kind of listening along. Joseph Smith Jr. is 137, and Joseph F. Smith, Hiram's son, is 138. So, Clive, I might just read the first couple of verses. I've got them highlighted. The heavens were opened upon us, and I beheld the celestial kingdom of God, and the glory thereof. Whether in the body or out, I cannot tell. This is him saying, I'm not sure how this occurred, but it did. I saw the transcendent beauty of the gate through which the heirs of the kingdom of that kingdom will enter, which was like unto circling flames of fire. If I think about when Joseph originally wrote his first vision, and he said he was surrounded by fire, or the trees looked like they were on fire, and he put a line through it and he wrote light. And so he's at that point in time when he was, a younger man, he did that in 1832, if my memory serves me correctly. So about 4 years before this was written, he's kind of, is it light? Is it fire? But it's something so brilliant, so bright. And he's describing this as a celestial state.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like, how do you describe it? Like, there's nothing that you can compare it to. I remember talking to someone who said it's like describing a ladder to a fish. You got to step on the ladder. Well, how do you step on the ladder? I don't know if you understand what legs are. Like, there's so much you've got to describe how to walk up a ladder to a fish. So you've got to describe the elements that are around you in the best way possible. There'll be never, ever a way to describe the celestial kingdom, I don't believe. But yeah, obviously this is just the way that we can get through and get to understand it. And what I think it's really fascinating as well, Joseph Smith, the prophet, who's had many, many visions in his time, can't understand if he was in the spirit or his body saw the vision, or if he was in the spirit. And I think that's really important for us to remember, that it's the spirit that we feel when we're in a vision that we understand we're in the vision. We don't have to think about the unimportant parts of, well, was I there? Was I not there? Was it a dream? Was it actually something open to? Well, whether it was or not, I can't tell. It doesn't matter. But I saw this vision, and this is what happened.
He goes through, he says, Clive, we know it's paved with gold, but in 5, he says, I saw Father Adam, Abraham, and he also sees his own father, and my mother, my brother Alvin, that has long since slept. So Alvin, of course, is his eldest brother who died some time earlier. and marveled how it was that he had obtained an inheritance in that kingdom, seeing that he had departed this life before the Lord had set his hand to gather Israel the second time, and had not been baptized for the remission of his sins. And then he hears the voice of the Lord. This is the important part. All who have died without knowledge of this gospel, who would have received it if they had been permitted to tarry, shall be heirs to the celestial kingdom of God. And I wanted to just analyze or just break down just a little bit. A couple of things, Clive, that have come to mind, and some notes that I've got here. First of all, those people who have died without the knowledge. So so I'm going to pose a question to you. But first of all, there's those who have died without the knowledge, who would have received it if they'd been permitted to carry. So if the missionaries would have knocked on my door, and my personality, my attributes would have been such that I would receive this gift of light, then I would be heirs to this celestial kingdom. So this is very much based on your personality, your attributes, the attributes you also received in the premortal life, I believe, are part of this. So in the premortal life, if you excel in these attributes, humility, meekness, charity, well, if you hear the message, you're drawn to that message because of those inherent traits that are inside you. So here's my question, Clive, to you. Why do we share it so much then? Is it better to not share it? And those people who would have received it, is better to just not share it with them? Because in the next life, it'll be like they got it anyway. So let's just not share it. Let's not go so hard. Why is the church going so hard in trying to share the gospel? If you don't hear about it, then you can go to the celestial kingdom anyway.
You know, it took me a long time to actually understand this, because it's my understanding, yes, if you hadn't received the gospel, but you would have received it, then you go to the celestial kingdom, right? That's what you've said, and that's what seems like it's obviously saying. When I was on my mission, we taught this family, really, really great family. The lady, she was really into it. The husband, he felt like he believed it. He always said to us that he believed it, but there were certain things that he just couldn't get over. You know, certain things, worldly things that he really enjoyed. And so he could never get to that point where he would be baptized, because even though he believed it, he said to us, this was his words: when you're in the celestial kingdom, you come down and you wave to me, and maybe we'll have a chat while I'm in the terrestrial kingdom. And it made me really think about why, if you know it's true, why? And for these people that died without a knowledge, why would there be anybody that died without a knowledge that wouldn't accept it in the next life? And it only really came to me recently, actually. And I served my mission, you know, a long time ago, 15 years ago. But this answer only came to me recently. And I think it all comes down to one of the things that you said. It all comes down to charity. Now, in the terrestrial kingdom, it's been described, and again, it's hard to describe what these kingdoms are going to be like, but it's been described as basically this world without the bad wickedness, the stress, the work, the school. You know, it's this world in like a more peaceful time, a more joyful time, where we can pretty much do whatever we want within the parameters of this world. In the celestial kingdom, it's a lot of work. You imagine our Father in heaven, all the work that he's going through now to help his children, to comfort those that need comfort, to guide those people in the world. There's a lot of work in heaven, and he does this because of the love that he has for us. He has charity. Charity never faileth. He is constantly out there helping us. Where he could have chosen to go to the terrestrial kingdom and done whatever he wanted within the parameters of that kingdom for the rest of his life, and not had all of these extra things that he's had to worry about. But he's decided, no, I want to give these other people an opportunity to have a body, and I want to be not their ruler, but that one that is above the world, looking down and helping them. And that's the difference. do I want to have for the rest of my life this group of worldly earth people who some of them really hate me, some of them really love me, or do I just want to go and do whatever I want? And that's the difference. It's, yes, I may have accepted the celestial kingdom, but I'm not a celestial person. I don't want to do those things.
So I'm imagining this, Clive. Alvin dies, and when it says heirs to the celestial kingdom, what it means is he enters a room. Imagine a room with me. And imagine that there are 3 doors: terrestrial, telestial, and celestial. To Alvin, all 3 doors are available. He can choose any of them. Whereas someone else only has a choice of 2 doors, or to another only has a choice over the lowest door. And so Alvin can choose to open the door of the celestial kingdom by virtue of this scripture here. All who have died without a knowledge will be, but they would have received it will be heirs. He can open that door, but inside that door is not the celestial kingdom, not at all. Inside that door is 100 million other doors that he must now walk through and learn every single thing as he's going, like us. So we will walk through those doors with Alvin and with those others, infants who have died, or other people who have not been able to have the opportunity to learn the gospel. They can choose to open the celestial door. It'll have a whole bunch of rules on it. They can read those rules and say, I know I'm an heir to this kingdom, but I actually don't want to. I've read the rules and I don't want to be a part of it, but I'm grateful for the option that I can be. Okay, I'm going to choose another door.
So 138, Daniel, this is, like you said, this is Joseph F. Smith. Now, this is incredible. This is a vision that he had. And when I first read it, I thought, what got him to this path? Like, I'll read the scripture in the Bible that got him to the path, but what was his thought process, right? And so this is what I want to do. I want to go back to 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 6. And I want to read that, and then I want to talk about what the thought process was. All right? So Peter, great sections, verses in Peter. So 1 Peter 4, 6. Well, I'll just read that. But I mean, we can read about, actually, no, let's go back. Let's go 1 Peter 3, then 1 Peter 4, okay?
Yeah.
So verse 18 in 1 Peter 3, for Christ also hath once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring up to God, being put to death in the flesh and quickened by the Spirit. Obvious what that is talking about. By which also he went and preached unto the spirits in prison. Now, it does explain who the spirits are, because there's lots, even as far back as those wicked people in the days of Noah. That's what that's talking about. So he went and preached to the spirits in prison. Now, chapter 4, verse 6. For this cause was the gospel preached also to them that are dead, that they might be judged according to men in the flesh, but live according to God in the Spirit. Now, my train of thought that I would say that this is probably his train of thought. Okay, I'm not saying 100%, but this is what my idea is. When you're teaching an individual, and then another person comes along, the teaching that you need for that individual might be completely different to the way that you need to teach somebody else. So when we have, I say we because I'm going back to my missionary days, but when we've got a lot of visitors, a lot of people that are interested in the gospel, we've got a lot of lessons, we can't just bring them all together to meet us at the chapel one day and have a massive lesson. It just doesn't work that way because everyone is on a different scale. So if this is in my mind, I would go, how did Christ preach to hundreds of thousands of people in the space of 3 days when there's so much different questions, there's so many different ways of understanding, and there's so many different levels that people know? So that's how I would ponder in that and go, how is that possible? Yes, obviously Christ is absolutely perfect, and there's no doubt in my mind that the Bible is true when it says that he taught the 5,000, and then the next day he taught 4,000. That's just doctrine. But at what point, how does it work? And so that's how I imagine Joseph F. Smith was feeling until this vision was opened. And this vision clearly showed him that Christ didn't go and preach to every single person individually, but he taught the spirits in the spirit world of how to teach. And that's why missionaries go to the MTC first, because you don't learn the specifics of you need to teach this type of person this, you need to teach this type of person this, but you learn how to teach. And that's what's important about it. And that is so much different to what our original thought was that Christ went and did. He went and he gathered those saints and he taught them how they can teach. And that is, that is like new doctrine for that time. And it's an incredible vision to have.
Should we go through some of the verses?
Okay.
I've got highlighted here all the way in 30, but I feel like that might be a little bit too far ahead.
I mean, yeah, we pretty much actually 30. Yeah. I mean, we don't want to bore everyone with all the bits and pieces beforehand.
Like we have for 2 years straight, as per the top of this show.
I think from 29 and then to wherever you finish highlighting.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've just got a couple here. And as I wondered, my eyes were opened, and this is 29, and my understanding quickened, and I perceived that the Lord went not in person among the wicked and the disobedient who had rejected the truth to teach them, but behold, from among the righteous he organized his forces and appointed messengers clothed with power and authority, and commissioned them to go forth and carry the light of the gospel to them that they were in darkness, even to all the spirits of men. Thus was the gospel preached to the dead. And the chosen messengers went forth to declare the acceptable day of the Lord, and to proclaim liberty to the captives who are bound, even unto all who would repent of their sins and receive the gospel. And this is the last one in this little bit, at least. Thus was the gospel preached to those who had died in their sins without a knowledge of the truth, or in transgression, having rejected the prophets. So this is what you're talking about here. And I like that as we go on, the people that Joseph F. Smith would say that he saw. Just go to 38. Among the great and mighty ones who were assembled in this vast congregation of the righteous were Father Adam, the ancient days, and then the second one is and all glorious Mother Eve. So he's saying these among the great and noble, the great and mighty ones. He says it's Abraham that I think is the great and noble ones. So he's seeing a lot of people, right? He's seeing a vast audience of people.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people there. This is everyone who's died up until that point, really. But he mentions Moses, right? Moses is there. And we've talked about before what happened to Moses. Well, Moses was translated. He didn't die. He didn't taste death. So why is Moses in the spirit world? So here, it's an interesting, another piece of doctrine to understand that when Christ came, resurrection came about. So translation was only about because there was no resurrection. So resurrection was able now. So whether Moses is now resurrected, that's not the point here. The point is, at some stage, Moses then went to the spirit world to continue to preach. So I found that quite fascinating in section 4, in verse 41, where it talks about that he saw Moses there. So whether Moses is now resurrected and still roaming the earth, but at some stage he did go to the spirit world and teach with those other people that were there.
This vision is unbelievable. Do you know why it took so long? I mean, this is not a loaded, I don't know the answer. Do you know why they eventually put this into the Doctrine and Covenants?
I actually don't know why. I don't know why, because Brigham Young spoke a lot about the spirit world, but maybe it wasn't as detailed. Yeah, I don't know, but it's fascinating. I'm glad it's in there.
Clive, I'm imagining that this section might have touched him quite deeply. This is verse 53. The prophet Joseph Smith, my father Hiram, Brigham Young, John Taylor, Wilford Woodruff, and other choice spirits who were reserved to come forth in the fullness of times to take part in laying the foundation of the world, including a building of the temples and the performance of ordinances therein for the redemption of the dead, who were also in the spirit world. And this is where he said, I observed that there were noble and great ones, chosen in the beginning. This is, we were taught in the spirit world, even before they were born, says in 56, with many others received their first lessons in the world of spirits, and we're prepared to come forth in the due time of the Lord to labor in his vineyard for the salvation of our souls. We were taught before we came down. We went in lessons, we were in classes, we were in seminary, we were in institute. We were separated in gender, I'm sure, but with those priesthood, relief society type situation. This is doctrine incredibly unique to our faith, to our particular brand of Christianity. There is none others that are so specific, Clive, to how we were before this life, how we are going to be in the next life, and that there is a Redeemer that has laid out this entire plan for us. That just does not exist anywhere else.
Yeah, most doctrines, most religions, their doctrine ends with this. Like, this is their version of heaven and hell. We say the spirit prison and spirit paradise, but they say this is heaven and hell. This is the end. Our spirits are there and no more. And we have this incredible doctrine to show us that this is merely just the next stepping stone. The next time we get to preach and talk. Brigham Young saw a lot of the spirit world. He described it as, well, he was the one to tell us that it's here. It's here on earth. It's in our midst. The spirits of the dead are often near us, but unseen, obviously. Because, Doctrine and Covenants says that all spirit is matter and it can only be discerned by purer eyes. But he also said that in Gospel Doctrine manual, he talks about that the spirit does not go freely wherever they choose, but they are sent on missions by those who have authority. So it's not like in the movies where you see, ghosts floating around everywhere. It's not like that. It's this glorious place in another realm on this earth. It's quite fascinating. I actually want to read something. Do you know Jedediah M. Grant? I believe he was an apostle many, many, many years ago. Heber C. Kimball spoke at his funeral, quoting something that he'd been told about Jedediah, who saw in vision the spirit world. And I want to read what he says. I have been into the spirit world 2 nights in succession. When in the spirit world, I saw the order of righteous men and women. There appeared to be no obstruction to my vision. I could see every man and woman in their grade and order. I looked to see whether there was any disorder there, but there was none. Neither could I see any death, nor any darkness, disorder, or confusion. He said that the people there that he saw were organized into family capacities, and when he looked at them, he saw grade after grade, and were all organized in perfect harmony. He also spoke of buildings he saw there, said that there were temples erected, said that the temples erected by Solomon were much inferior to the most ordinary buildings he saw in the spirit world. In regards to gardens, he said, I have seen good gardens on this earth, but I never saw any to compare with those that were there. I saw flowers of numerous kinds, and some with from 50 to 100 different colored flowers growing upon one stalk. So the spirit world isn't just, when I envision the spirit world, I used to envision this light room, just a light, glorious light and people wandering around it, but it's so much more than that. What I did is I took everything that I know about the spirit world, what many people have seen, what many people have experienced, and I put all that information, Daniel, into an AI generated program. And I said, here's all the information I know about the spirit world. I want you to draw me a picture, and I'll put the picture up now. If you're watching on YouTube, have a look. If you're listening, jump onto our social media and have a look. It's incredible. It's nothing like I imagined it, but from these quotes, from different references, different stories, the spirit world is actually such a beautiful and incredible place. Like I said, it's the next step. It's not a place of misery and not a place of disorder. Before Christ was there was a separation of those in spirit paradise and those in spirit prison, as we say. But now it's more of a place where people can learn and people can grow. And it's not just a blank place to go, okay, you're dead now, so now you have to listen. It's an absolute glorious place.
Well, I think we'll end it there. I've really had a great time learning a little bit tonight, Clive, and going through these things. Thanks for tuning into another episode of You Could Hide to Kolob podcast. Catch us on YouTube, subscribe to us there, and catch us on Instagram and Facebook. Next week, we've got the official declaration 1 and 2, and we've got the articles of faith as well. And then I think we're doing a Christmas lesson. So exciting way to round the year out. But what a blessing, what a privilege it's been to talk about the Doctrine and Covenants this year. And we will catch you next week for another episode.